Hello, everybody, and welcome to this press conference for the I Am Billy campaign. It's my absolute pleasure to kick things off and introduce the wonderful Charlotte Caldwell, who is heading up this campaign with her son Billy here. Charlotte, if you want to give us your statement.
Yeah, so hi everybody, good morning, and thank you to everyone who's attending the press conference today. Billy and I have been overwhelmed with all the good wishes, love and support we have received on the I Am Billy campaign so far. We never ever expected such an incredible response. June 2018, we witnessed unprecedented change when Billy changed an outdated, unjust 50-year-old law. But sadly, access for vulnerable, chronically ill patients remains difficult in the UK today. This is why Billy and I have launched the I Am Billy campaign. Patient numbers remain low in the UK, with few NHS doctors willing to prescribe cannabis medicine. Although numbers are on the rise in the private sector, a huge number of chronically ill patients cannot access long-term supply of medicine due to financial barriers. I am extremely grateful to Matt Hancock, Robin Swan, our Health Minister here in Northern Ireland, and Billy's amazing team of doctors that Billy has been able to receive his medicine funded by our NHS. But today is not about Billy. It's about the thousands of other Billys with a wide spectrum of chronic conditions who quite simply cannot afford privately prescribed medicine. These patients are some of the most vulnerable chronically ill patients in our society from some of the most deprived areas of our nation. They require urgent change and action now. The I Am Billy campaign is the key to unlock the deadlock we are currently facing in the UK medical cannabis sector. The I Am Billy campaign is a pioneering campaign focused on the urgent need of patients, the urgent need of real-world evidence in order for medical cannabis to be NHS funded. We have the solution. We are calling on a round-table approach with government. We will collaborate positively with government and all relevant government stakeholders to bring our solution forward, which is to acquire evidence for safe and consistent cannabis medicine prescribing. Billy and I have this week written to the NIHR, the Department of Health, NICE and the MHRA, requesting a roundtable consultation to discuss a pathway for government-funded medical cannabis trials. Right now, there are no ongoing government-funded medical cannabis trials. In light of the desperate need to break the cannabis medicine deadlock, the campaign is calling for the first real-world evidence-controlled study where patients will not pay for the cost of their medicine. I do not believe for 1 minute that our Prime Minister Boris Johnson or Matt Hancock want this suffering to continue for these vulnerable chronically ill patients. And I have had indications they want a solution. I am looking forward to collaborating closely with them on this issue. Alongside the I Am Billy campaign, we have launched the I Am Billy Foundation. This aims to support patients by providing financial assistance to those in need to meet the cost of cannabis medicine prescribed by doctors. As the study we are calling for is likely to be of limited capacity, we wish to support as many patients as possible. In order to help raise funds for the I Am Billy Foundation, Billy and I will be walking to Westminster from our home here in Northern Ireland in the next few weeks. We will be doing this walk to raise much needed funds for patients who desperately need access to cannabis medicine. When Billy and I arrive in London, we plan to meet with the relevant government stakeholders to discuss our solution, a government-funded cannabis medicine study. As a mummy of a patient with lived experience, I have given my all to this for the last 5 years, and I am somewhat emotional, but hopeful. This campaign can and will save lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, for that fantastic explanation of exactly why we're here and why this is so important. And I'm going to pass on now to Dominic Day from Welsh Rugby Union and also from 45 CBD. So Dominic.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Charlotte. That was brilliant. So I want to go over quickly my reasons for being involved in this campaign, and you know, they're pretty simple, really. The first, obviously, is Billy. You know, I feel everyone in cannabis owes Billy a debt of gratitude for the awareness that he has brought on the struggles that he had been through. And the other reason is Charlotte. You know, I had a number of conversations with her over the last few months, and every single time I was just bowled over by the sheer determination for change and change for the better, and that is something I want to be a part of. You know, I followed Billy's struggles and seeing the difference that medicinal cannabis made to his life. I couldn't be prouder to be involved in this campaign. You only have to hear Charlotte talk, just like now, to realise what a massive impact cannabis is still making on their lives, and just how passionate they are about helping other families and individuals facing the same challenges. The awareness and achievements that Billy and Charlotte made in 2018 is just monumental. And I think everyone since then has felt the frustrations, you know, at the pace that things have moved forward. And I think it's down to a lack of structure and the distribution of this amazing medicine that people desperately need. I do believe that things, like Charlotte mentioned, they are moving forward slowly in terms of access, but unfortunately slowly is the standout word, and there are people that need this medicine now. So there's no doubt in my mind that this campaign and the people backing it will accelerate this process. Now, I'm sure that there'll be people watching and listening that are wondering, what is an ex-rugby player doing involved in a campaign like this? Well, my journey into the cannabis world, although absolutely nowhere near as severe as Billy's or many people that I was actually listening to just before this press conference started, but it is one of first-hand experience and feeling the benefits of cannabis products, both as an athlete and in everyday life. And for me, I just saw an alternative treatment. You know, when I was recovering from injuries, I just thought that there must be a better way. You know, the processes and protocols in place still right now. I'm not happy. I wasn't happy then. I'm still not happy now with the long-term side effects kind of associated with those protocols that are in place for athletes. And this actually led me down a massive sort of rabbit hole of, you know, being introduced to the cannabis plant and the compounds around that plant, and just the absolutely amazing sort of medicinal benefits and the way that it aided my personal recovery. It really just drove me to be part of this industry. And like, I'm so proud to be joining Billy for the final leg of his walk to Westminster. I'm thrilled at the prospect of delivering this letter to Boris. And I'm sure most of you have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, there's an infamous clip of Boris rugby tackling a child in the playground. I for one, I'm extremely excited to support Boris in tackling medical cannabis.
It's really well said, and thank you very much, Dominic, for your input there. And we're going to move on swiftly now, and it's my pleasure to introduce Member of Parliament for the Conservative Party, Heather Wheeler, MP.
Thank you very much indeed. My apologies for missing the beginning. I had a technical issue. The interesting thing about this campaign, and the reason why I've joined it, is that you'll hear later from Lynn Coxon, my office manager, who has been on an amazing journey for many, many years, and has introduced us to the ways that medicinal cannabis can put at bay particular types of cancer. And it's a very personal matter for me, because we're so close, and our friendship means so much to me. But unfortunately, my husband died 2 years of cancer 2 years ago, and it didn't save him, but it did mean that we had really 4 months of better living than we would have done. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And he went in the end with relatively little pain, which was an absolute blessing. So we know what parliamentary procedures are like. We know what a complete labyrinthian process all of this is. But I'm pleased that Sajid Javid is a friend of mine, and it was him that kicked off this process to change the law on the matter. I work closely with Matt Hancock, our Health Secretary of State, and I will do whatever I can for you to be your advocate in Parliament to make sure that the proprieties, the legal side of this and of medicinal cannabis can be opened up to as wide a group as possible. I'm not interested in legislation legalizing cannabis for people to smoke in the street or anything silly like that. I am only interested in supporting a wider use of medicinal cannabis. And if I can help the I Am Billy campaign to help you go through those processes in Parliament, then that is what I want to do. Charlotte is an incredible lady. Anybody that takes more than 10 minutes to speak with her will know how this is not a flash in the pan process. This is something that has got real method behind it, and it is something that I'm proud to be a partner with. Alex, I think I don't really need to say any more. Thank you.
It's beautifully put, and it's really lovely to hear about your experiences there with your partner there. And it's a story that I've heard many times from many different types of patients. So it's my turn to speak now. I get to introduce myself, and I'm going to try and speed through some quite complicated subject matter in a very short space of time, because I know that we're time limited. But my story begins when I'm 19 years old and I'm diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And Crohn's disease, some of you might know, is a very horrible disease, huge amounts of pain and difficulty and nausea and suffering. And I quite quickly found that cannabis was incredibly beneficial to me. It helped relieve my pain, helped relieve my nausea. It helped me eat 3 square meals a day, and it helped me get a good night's sleep too. And I'm sure that anybody out there who's watching this, who's had a chronic illness or any lengthy illness, will know how important that is. And I was outraged at the time that I simply couldn't access this legally. I set up a number of campaigns and organizations pushing for law change on medical cannabis. I took delegations of patients to Parliament and spoke on national TV on the subject matter a number of times. And with the help of fantastic campaigns headed by Charlotte, we managed to get a law change in 2018. And I think naively thought that that might be the end of the story, and that the law change would mean NHS access. And sadly, it doesn't. It's meant that we can get private prescriptions for medical cannabis. But it's generally speaking not available on the NHS, with a very minimal handful of exceptions. In 2019, I started working for a company called Grow Pharma. We're one of the UK's leading suppliers of cannabis medicines in the UK. This world from sort of multiple points of view, from both sides of the coin, if you will. We've been supporting patients, educating doctors, and trying our best to improve access alongside many other great companies in this industry. But there is a limit on what we can do to take these medicines forward into NHS access. And the second complicated thing that I want to explain is exactly why we're here and why we're asking for real world evidence as opposed to going through the traditional routes. And the simplistic answer is that cannabis is a complicated plant. It's not a single medicine. It's a plant with the potential to create hundreds, potentially, medicines for many different patients with many different ailments and illnesses as well. And it gets infinitely more complicated when you realize that you can have two patients with the same diagnosis and the same symptoms, and you'll actually need two very different types of cannabis medicines to treat those two individuals. So we have some work ahead of us in terms of really elucidating the different medicines that the plant has in its sort of toolbox and the many different patients that stand to benefit them, and how that fits together. And to go through the traditional route of randomized controlled trials, which generally speaking focus on one symptom in one indication at a time, it's going to take an enormous length of time and an enormous amount of money to really fully get the benefit from this plant that has quite so much potential. And the one thing that I really do want to highlight is, throughout my journey of over a decade now, speaking to cannabis patients, representing them at every level, and also working within this industry, trying to help push it forward and improve access for patients, I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of patients with an enormous array of different difficulties, symptoms, conditions, and all of whom have found cannabis to be an absolute, life-saving, life-changing medication. It certainly was for me, and I really don't know if I would be standing in front of you today if I hadn't discovered cannabis when I did. And I've spoken to many people throughout the UK who feel very much the same way. And this is a really quite serious issue. And as Heather quite rightly points out, this isn't about people smoking on the street. This isn't about what we usually term as recreational access. This is about giving sick people access to the medicines that drastically improve their quality of life and allow them to go and live normal lives. And on that note, I'm going to finish. And we're going to hear a little bit more from a few other patients who have their own experiences from their own sort of lives and areas as well. So I'm going to introduce firstly Adam Martell from Guernsey.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Great to be here. Lovely introduction, Charlotte, and good to see Billy today. So I'm here representing Guernsey. We're a Crown dependency. Our medical cannabis journey is a little bit behind the UK. We've been able to access medical cannabis, or islanders have been able to access medical cannabis since September 2020. So we're about 8 months into the process. So far, we've got 250 plus private patients, but on the flip side of that, we've probably got in excess of 500 patients who want to try and access this alternative medicine, but they just simply can't afford it. So we've created an on-island social media platform where patients share their stories, and we work as a support mechanism. So we are fully in support of the I Am Billy campaign to show our alliance and hope take it forward, and we will stand with Charlotte and Billy, and obviously we will join the walk if we can, COVID restrictions pending. I'm also a cannabis patient. I've been using medical cannabis in Guernsey since September. I take it for pain-related issues, nerve problems, which affect my day-to-day life and well-being. They might not be life-threatening, but without using medical cannabis, I would be, living a life addicted to opiates, which, actually restricts my quality of life, even though they do manage some of the pain. So yeah, I'm here to be the voice, and we will work collaboratively with government and show our support and do whatever we can to try and champion this campaign. And that's pretty much it from me.
Thank you so much, Adam. And we're going to move over to Martin O'Neill here from Jersey.
Hello, and thank you for having me, Charlotte. My name is Martin O'Neill, and I am a sufferer of severe neuropathic pain that affects me every day. I am currently prescribed a plethora of strong medications which are available on NHS prescriptions. These include daily doses of liquid ketamine, a strong dissociative that leaves me feeling out of my body and affects my cognitive function, as well as strong opiates including oxycodone. I have also been prescribed muscle relaxants, but the side effects are unbearable. I am a registered private cannabis medicine patient. I cannot always afford the cost of the prescription, but cannabis medicine is what works best for me, and most importantly, has the least harmful side effects. It is very difficult to try to live a normal life whilst taking a dangerous cocktail of strong opiates, ketamine and muscle relaxants. Having to deal with a variety of extreme side effects caused by these drugs, alongside the pain, makes my life hell. As recently as 24th of April, I was rushed to an ICU ward because I did not have a cannabis medicine, which has previously prevented me going into ICU. Doctors told me that the cost of me being in an ICU ward is around £1,500 a day. It is particularly concerning knowing that I could end up in an ICU ward whilst this COVID pandemic is still ongoing. It is also a bed space that is taken up, which could have been prevented. Now, please don't take this as an attack on medical cannabis prescribers, NHS or the Department of Health. It is not. But what I will say is that this deadlock has to be broken, and the I Am Billy campaign is willing to run a trial that is the solution to this deadlock. I hope that NIHR and Department of Health take up the campaign on their offer. It is absolutely crazy that I can get all these incredibly strong medicines that don't work for me and I don't want, and they're given out free on the NHS. But if I want to use cannabis medicine, which works best, and I have to pay hundreds of pounds a month. What's more, I am costing the NHS tens of thousands of pounds per year in ICU trips, doctors, beds, the ambulance. This all costs our beloved NHS money. This is not an isolated incident. There are hundreds like me out here. I am politely calling on government, the health department and relevant research bodies to work constructively to finally allow patients access to cannabis medicine in the same way that patients can access synthetic medications. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Martin, and Adam there as well. And we're going to move on to Lynn Coxon to speak about her experience.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be supporting this campaign. Back in 2017, I was diagnosed with grade 3 aggressive breast cancer, which had spread to my lymph nodes under my arm and in my neck. And I decided I was due to have 8 rounds of chemotherapy. And while I was waiting for the treatment, I did a lot of reading and I decided I would try CBD. I had no idea if it would work or if it would do anything. I got to 2 days before my chemotherapy was due to start and I couldn't feel the tumour anymore, and it had been big. So I paid for another scan and the CBD had shrunk my tumour and all of my lymph nodes by 2/3 in 5 weeks. At that point I cried, never cried when I was told I got breast cancer because I didn't know what to do. But in the end, I saw the oncologist, we deferred the chemotherapy and the following week I saw him and he said, it's amazing what's happened to you. But as clinicians, we have to tell you, we think you should have chemotherapy. So I said, with a grade 3 aggressive tumour left 8 weeks, what would you have expected to see on the scan? He said, well, it wouldn't have shrunk. And I asked, well, if I'm prepared to take the risk, will you agree to monitor me? And they did. I eventually decided to put it on Facebook. And the result of that was that I had thousands of people get in touch with me about CBD. Thousands of people who, like the other patients you've heard from, have been in pain or they had been diagnosed with cancer. I've never told anyone that it will work for them. I've only told them what worked for me. I've been lucky enough to meet Charlotte and Billy, and I think that what Sajid Javid did with Billy was wonderful and was the beginning. But we need to move on. We need now to these trials. It's ridiculous that Israel have done these trials, but sadly, we can't use that information here in the UK. We have to do it again. We've shown with the vaccination programme that they're prepared to do things outside the box when it's necessary. So why can't we do trials outside of the norm with medicinal cannabis? My argument here, and I've done a lot of campaigning and in Europe, has been, if someone's diagnosed with cancer, why can't they be offered the chance to try CBD, and then before they start their treatment, have another scan? Maybe it will work. I know now, because I've had chemotherapy, because I had 2 lymph nodes come back under my arm, the difference between using CBD and having chemotherapy. And trust me, there is no comparison. CBD does what medics are always told when they first become medics, when they're doing their training. Firstly, do no harm. Cannabis medicines do no harm, but lots of proprietary medicines do, and chemotherapy is awful. So I have no hesitation in supporting this campaign, and I urge government and all the other bodies to come together, because this is the time. It will actually save patients the agonies of the stuff that they have to take, and it will also save our NHS an awful lot of money.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And I also want to thank Adam and Martin, and of course Charlotte and Billy for sharing with us their experiences. And I know from personal experience how difficult it is when you do suffer day in, day out to be involved in high-profile events like this. It is an extra strain, an extra toll. So I do appreciate everybody being here on this call today. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A, but I just want to reiterate before we do what Lynn said there a little bit about do no harm. And I think that one of the things we can certainly look to prove with a real-world evidence study is the safety profile of these medicines, which I think is a really key part of the equation. If we're talking about experimenting with medicines and trialing them on patients who have come to the end of the road with traditional treatments, there really is no other option that is quite so, and I don't want to use the word harmless, but minimally harmful, particularly when compared to other prescription drugs. We also want to point out that this isn't a panacea, and it doesn't work for everyone. And certainly throughout my time as an advocate, seeing patients trying and using cannabis oils and various other treatments in the sort of cannabis medicines range, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But for those that it does work, it does appear to be life-changing, and it does appear to have a massive impact on their quality of life. And I do feel like, you know, we've seen a great amount of medical innovation in the UK recently. I only have to point out to the COVID vaccines that are being developed and the speed at which that has been done. I fail to see how a country that has the level of innovation that we do in medicine here in the UK, why we cannot set up a trial that works and works around this particular type of medicine that is a little bit different, a little bit more complicated than other medicines that have been available. The potential is enormous. The potential to really change people's lives for the better and to save us money as well for our NHS. So there's a lot of reasons why this campaign is so very important. I'm going to move on to some Q&As real quickly. I'm not sure exactly who to fire some of these questions to, but we'll see how we go. First question, possibly for you, Charlotte, or maybe for you, Heather. How confident are you that the government will be interested in supporting the solutions that you're putting forward? Maybe that's one for Heather.
Yes, thank you. The truth is, I don't know. I've talked behind the scenes to Sajid, and I've talked behind the scenes to Matt, and they're up on the latest conversations about what's happening. We know that there are trials going on, and we also know that we have cannabis being grown in the country that is being used for CBD, that is being exported for CBD, and that is all licensed in these particular farms, and it's being very, very heavily monitored, as you might imagine. So it's as though the door has opened so far, but what we need to do is just to make sure that we push it that bit further.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that I'm confident that we can achieve this particular real-world evidence study, and that is a lot to down to first of all, we have assembled a team with an amazing network of friends that Billy has acquired over the last number of years. And I think that places us in a unique position to provide leadership for the cannabis medicine sector in the UK. There's no one else operating at this level for these vulnerable, chronically ill patients.
Thank you, Charlotte. And I do have one more question, particularly for you, Charlotte, here. As a medical cannabis patient, this has come from somebody who's watching. As a medical cannabis patient, how can I take part in this campaign?
Yeah, so if you would like to, hi, and whoever you are, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. So if you would like to email the admin team, I think the email address is admin@iambilly.uk.co.uk, sorry, is it? Or .uk, sorry. Yeah, and we also have a website. So our website is www.iambilly.co.uk. And we also have the website set up for our foundation, which is www.iambilly.org. So you can reach our admin team and Billy and myself through any of those sites. We also have our social media pages. So please feel free. We have our I Am Billy Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So please feel free to contact us via that.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. And there's another question here that's basically saying, where is it? Let me read this so I get it right. What are the biggest problems patients face in the UK at the moment? And I wondered if, Adam, you wanted to talk quickly about the problems that you face in Guernsey particularly, because I know that there's a situation there that's ongoing.
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest challenges at the moment, especially from Guernsey, because as much as we now have access as private patients, we don't have any on-island clinics or on-island pharmacies. So as much as it's been a godsend for patients since September to be able to use the 6 or more available UK clinics, part of the provision of using the UK clinics for patients in Guernsey, and I can speak on behalf of some patients from Jersey, is the fact that once we have the consultations and pay for them in a private capacity and are issued a prescription, we then have to apply for the relevant import license through our public health team. And they set out guidelines that on receipt of a prescription, a completed application, you are waiting for a minimum 14-day turnaround. So once you then receive the relevant paperwork, you then have to wait for the export license, which is kindly arranged by the prescribing pharmacy. So it's kind of like a 21-day cycle. Now, for patients paying in a private capacity, it's very tough to be able to then, keep up with your follow-up appointments, keep your medication going, take your medication as prescribed. And some, these are just guidelines. Some patients have waited over 30, 40 days just for the turnaround of one prescription. So it then plays, problems with the ailment they are getting prescribed for, and then added mental health issues as well. So there's a lot of work to do. That's why, we are, standing as partners and supporting this campaign to try and make significant, improvements, and also help the more than 250 patients plus that just simply cannot afford this medicine. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think we've got a real positive approach, and there's improvements will be made.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. I think it's a really interesting case study in how red tape is essentially preventing sensible medical access. And I think that is a situation that we do see sort of across the board, not just in the Channel Islands, but in the UK as well, in that there are certain rules and restrictions around these medicines that aren't applicable to other medicines, many of them that are far more serious and potentially harmful medications. So I think it's realizing that this is a medicine, much like any other. It is a plant that has a huge amount of potential. but it is a plant that perhaps the medicines from which are too complex to go down the traditional routes there. So I think we're going to finish off in just a little bit, but before we do, I just thought I'd hand over to Charlotte for a few last words.
Yeah, so I just want to repeat really what I said earlier on in my statement, is that, you know, as a mummy of a patient who has lived this experience, I have given my all to this cause for 5 years. And today I am somewhat emotional, but I am full of hope. This campaign will and can save lives. And just thank you everybody for all your support. It's Billy and I are eternally grateful. Just thank you.
We've got a question here real quickly. Can I join Billy on the walk to Parliament, and how can we find out more about it?
Absolutely. Just email our admin team. We, you know, the more people out walking with us will obviously give us strength and courage to keep going. So yes, absolutely. Anybody is welcome to come and join us, and we would love that. Thank you so much.
Oh, yes, and thank you so much for everyone for being here today. For any more, you know, for press interviews or any further questions, do email admin@iambilly.uk. You know, we're very much looking forward to seeing the walk to Parliament, and also the continuation of this campaign and what it will achieve. Thank you so much to Heather Wheeler MP, to Lynn, and to Adam and Martin for joining us. Thank you everybody else for joining us for this press conference. And,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.